Hey gang, my name is James White. Welcome to the Signalnoise broadcast. Today we're going to be looking at Youngblood #1 from April 1992. Let's do it. I was a huge fan of Youngblood back in high school, and this wasn't actually the first Youngblood comic that I got. I started at number 3 and had to track down issues 1 and 2, and this was actually the first one that I tracked down. I had a stupid second printing with this dumb gold border around it, and I had this for absolute years before tracking down a proper copy of #1. Big shouts to my buddy Dave Howlett at Strange Adventures, the best comic shop in the world, Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada, and he hooked me up with a proper issue #1, so big shouts to Dave for that. So I know it's fashionable to dunk on Rob Liefeld for his drawing abilities these days. I'm not going to do that. I'm not about that. I look at Rob Liefeld's work through the lens of still being a teenager, and this was my era of his artwork. I still love it to this day. For all of its faults, I absolutely love it. It's exciting, and I can still see it the same way that I saw it when I was however old, 15, when I first picked this thing up. So we're just going to flip through this, look at the story, look at some of the art. The creator, again, Rob Liefeld, plot, pencils, and inks. So Rob is handling all the art duties on this, and I'm a fan when other people ink Rob Liefeld because I think they clean up his style a little bit and add a little bit of consistency. But and here's the roll call, the Youngblood home team. So we'll have the home team and the away team. This is a flip comic, and we'll get there later on. So here's the roll call. We have all of our characters: Bedrock, who would later be called Badrock, Combat, Chapel, Vogue, Die Hard, and Shaft. And I got to shout out Brian Murray. Me and my childhood best friend Mike, we were both real down with Image Comics, and we loved the color work by Brian Murray. It might look a little bit dated today, but we're talking early digital colors back then. So I don't know if he's using Photoshop or something, but this was the real early days of that. And we were coming off of looking at Marvel Comics and DC Comics, which looked insanely boring compared to what Brian Murray was doing. So big shouts to Brian Murray. Love his stuff. Still love his stuff. It's of its time, and I love that. So the story starts at this nondescript looking mall, apparently, and Shaft is out. He took a lunch hour off to go shopping with his girlfriend Shelley, and it doesn't take long before some hijinks ensue. So we got a fella that's a shoplifter, or the security's chasing him or whatever. Shaft leaps into action and just absolutely creams this guy on the escalator, gives him a right hand, and it turns out he's a decoy. We got this sniper dude that's somewhere on a higher level. And Jeff, or Shaft, is warned, I assumed, by his girlfriend. He's an archer, but he doesn't have his bow and arrow on him. So all he has is this ballpoint pen, the weapon of a Youngblood agent. So he whips the pen at this jabroni, catches him right in the throat, and knocks him down, and he ends up in the drink. And Shaft is like, glad I had that pen on me. It's not just good for signing autographs. And and then the press show up and they want to talk to Shaft about it. And he's wondering how the heck they got there so fast. He smells a little bit of a rat here. And, his beeper ends up going off, and he's not ready to make a statement yet. And he takes off. So, and his girlfriend is, go get him, Tiger. So we cut to Baltimore, Maryland, and this is the home of Bedrock, later be called Badrock. And he's eating some green stuff in his kitchen, and his mom is there, and his beeper goes off. So something's going down where somebody's calling all of the Youngblood agents to the HQ. So he has to take off. And this is something that confused me when I was a kid because Badrock's mom looks exactly like Shaft's girlfriend. Take from that what you will. So we cut to Arlington, Virginia, and Die Hard, who will go on to be a wicked character. Like, he'll go on to be one of my favorite characters. He stars in the Youngblood Strike File that I really like, and we'll get to those issues later on. But he has his roots like back in the 1930s or 1940s, kind of a Captain America super soldier kind of thing, but he's sort of like a robotic or reanimated human sort of thing. So he gets the call and he leaps into action because there's some hijinks going down. And we cut same city, Arlington, Virginia, and we see Chapel. He's in bed with a lady. His beeper goes off, and she's half asleep, and then he just appears out of, I don't know, the ensuite or something where he keeps his get up. He was in there putting his makeup on, and he comes out with this big ass gun that he keeps under his bed, I guess, and says, okay, baby, I'll see you later. And he just walks out the front door, I suppose. And Washington, D.C., we see Vogue is out doing her patrol, I suppose. She is an ex-Russian model turned Youngblood agent. And so she's running off to the headquarters. And then we cut back to the HQ and we see Shaft here. This is Photon. He'll later go on to be in Team Youngblood. And here's our first shot of the entire team. Looks real cool. Badrock looks absolutely huge. There's no way he fit in a kitchen. He looked way smaller in that kitchen scene earlier. But they're asking what's going on, and it turns out it is Strong Arm and Gage of the four. That's these two, and they're intercepting where two members of the four, that's their team, is being transported, and they're gonna bust them out of the of this truck, this transport that they're in. And Youngblood caught whiff of it, and now they're gonna go and stop the four. So this is Deadlock and Starlight or Starbright, Starburst. Can't remember her name. But anyway, they're free now, and they're ready to wreak some havoc. But as expected, Diehard shows up first, so he comes down and gives him one of these patented double uppercut Liefeld punches, and takes out Strong Arm, and gives him another one for good measure. Bam. And this time they won't be so lucky. They're going to capture them all, and that's when the entire troop shows up. So, and this here, I mean, if this would have been the only 2 pages that I saw out of this comic, I was all in. Being a 15-year-old, seeing this, Chapel's motorbike, and Chapel's motorbike is something I don't even know if it shows up past issue number 1, but it looks real cool. And I was comparing it earlier to his previous shot, and Liefeld has a tendency to like change costumes and vehicles as he goes. There's not a lot of consistency, but this year looks pretty good. Like, he got the mufflers right, and this big like lazy boy backrest is there. And I wish we had a clear shot of this, because it looks like the front piece is like a stylized skull kind of thing. And I don't know if we ever get a clear shot of that, but very cool. Oh, and these here things, these things on his back here. Mike used to call these bug lights, and I'll be sure to try to call those out every time we see them in an Image comic. So big shouts to Mike and his bug lights. Anyway, great money shot of the team, and that's we didn't even get to see them kick butt, because we have to flip over, and we're going to check out the away team. So this team will go on to be called Team Youngblood. They'll have their own title and all that kind of thing. And at one point, I became a bigger fan of the Team Youngblood than the original Youngblood title, but we'll get there. If we want to get into the Team Youngblood series, that'll be super fun. So anyway, big money shot of our team on the cover. And again, it's the same crew. Creator Rob Liefeld, and we got Rob on all the art duties. Again, we got Brian Murray on color design. And Hank Canals did the dialogue for this one. And I'll be watching. I don't know if Hank does a lot of work with Youngblood. I can't really remember. And this is before Eric Stevenson comes on as the editor of Youngblood, and I think most of Liefeld's titles at the time. So again, we got our roll call for the away team. We got Brahma, he's the big dude, Riptide, Photon, Sci-Fire, Sentinel, and Cougar. Sci-Fire has that real dorky 90s haircut there. So we start off and we got a news broadcast from SNN, and it's about the war going on in the Middle East. Again, this is the early 90s, so this is a hot topic. And this is our main antagonist, Hassan Hussein. And the key is to capture him, to kind of take care of this war and get it under wraps, as it were. And I think they talk about there are rumors of a team going over there and checking it out, but there's nothing official that's been announced. And then we get our money shot of the Youngblood away team. This is combat over here. There's Sentinel, there's Brahma, Riptide, Cougar, and I think Sci-Fire's just down here. And they're jumping out of a helicopter, and this big ass gun. Like, I love Rob Liefeld weapons from back in the day. Like, these are always so good. And me and Mike used to draw these all the time, and I think Mike came up with the idea of putting the word Hoover on the side of them because he said they looked like vacuum cleaners. So they're jumping in, and they're going to take out these dudes, these bad guys, and they're at some nondescript part of the Middle East. I would assume it's Iraq, but I'm really not sure. So they jump in, start tearing it up, and combat seems to be getting bigger as we go through these pages. Like, he's just absolutely towering. He's like twice the size of Cougar right here. And one thing I wanted to point out, again, this giant gun that combat has gets absolutely dwarfed in these follow-up panels. Like, it looks so small, probably because Combat looks like he's getting bigger, but I'm fairly certain it's not a power of his. I think that's just a stylistic choice. I noticed that actually in Fist of the North Star. I noticed that it's the same way, like to accentuate the evilness of bad guys, they'll be drawn like way bigger than normal, which is really cool. I always like Cougar's design too. Like, Cougar's a character I believe that Liefeld almost drew into the New Mutants or X-Force or something like that. I'm not sure on my details there, but he ended up keeping him in his back pocket, and good job on him, man, because he's a great addition to the title. He's great design too. It's really cool. So Combat and Cougar are going to rough some guys up. Sentinel is kind of our stand-in Iron Man character. Like, this dude, he's like a super scientist, and he built his power suit that he can fly around and shoot lasers out of his hands or whatever. So he's going to show up. He's going to do some patrolling, and Riptide is having problems trying to conjure moisture out of the air in a desert to try to take care of these guys. So, you know, when you have a water power and you're in the desert, it doesn't make a lot of sense. And Sci-Fire is being a smartass. Sci-Fire will go on. Like, I'm looking forward to tracking his story, because Sci-Fire is kind of a loose cannon on the team, and he has an insane power, and we'll get there in a second. So you got all these hosers are outside this nondescript like ranch thing, so they got to tear them up. So yeah, there's this nondescript compound or wherever they're doing this battle, and they're gonna bust into this place, but then the whole team gets zapped, and their mind gets fried or something like that. And the only one that seems to be okay by this is Sci-Fire. So that's him floating right there. And it's this big robot. And is that Hussein there? It's kind of small, but now he's probably just some other dude, some other bad guy. But they get zapped by this robot, and that ain't good for them. So Sci-Fire is going to take out all these guys on his own. Then we cut to outside, and we see Combat and Cougar are still wrestling with this guy. And they're going to end up taking him out. And we're going to see Combat tear it up. Those big reflections on those arms. That's so rad. So he whacks this here guy, conks him on the head, and takes him out. Gives us that money pose. It's such a great thing too. Like, Liefeld is so good at drawing anchors on every single page. So every page when you flip always has like some big, awesome shot of characters doing things. Like this one here, I guess would be that one. But, you know, I don't know. He's just really good at adding action and excitement to every page, and you know, that was one of his main goals back in the day. If you watch the Image Revolution, the Image documentary, he talks about, he just wanted every page to just have the excitement turned way up, and you know, definitely pays off. So Sci-Fire's inside the compound, and he finds our guy Hassan Hussein, and he's giving him what for. With his yelling and stuff, and he starts firing up his psionic abilities, and Hussein's holding his head, and you know, Sci-Fire's basically like, I can take care of you right now and end this war. So he absolutely just bursts his head open off panel here. Great colors on this page. Again, shouts to Brian Murray. I love this stuff. And yeah, basically fries his head. So then the rest of the team show up, and they're like, oh no, what have you done? And they make a suggestion that he's done this before. This isn't the first time that Sci-Fire has kind of gone off script and fried somebody. So the team are all reacting to it, and you know, it ain't good, and they got to figure out, like, what are we gonna do? Call the cleanup crew, and they got to get out of there as soon as possible, because this is going to cause some kind of an international incident. This wasn't the way this whole thing was supposed to go down. And then we cut to the front page of US Today, and it's the story that they concocted to cover up Sci-Fire's antics with the death of Hussein apparently being a suicide. That's what they came up with. We got a little cameo by Battlestone here. He's of the team Brigade that we might take a look at some point too. I got issue 1 of that comic as well. And I think Liefeld's throwing little potatoes at Marvel down here. Oh, and he's talking about Run DMC over here on the side. I never noticed that before. So anyway, that is issue number 1 of Youngblood. Now, as I said earlier, this wasn't the first issue that I got of Youngblood. I started at number 3. And in all honesty, if this was the first time I saw Youngblood, if this was the first issue that I got, I don't know if I would have been fully on board yet. Because I really loved issue number 3. I really loved issue number 2. We'll get to that next time. But issue number 1 was okay in my book. But Liefeld laid the groundwork for a lot of stuff to come. And it would be a lot of fun. Again, I love Rob Liefeld's work from the 90s. I still do to this day. I love all of his characters, all of the colors, all of the names that he comes up with, and it's going to be a lot of fun to revisit these things. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the Signalnoise broadcast. If you'd like to continue the conversation, join us on Discord at discord.gg/signalnoise. And if you'd like to see what official products I have available, please drop by the Signalnoise store at store.signalnoise.com. I'll see you next time, and stay rad.